Hi, Jim Hart back at you here today, and today we're going to review the first main big legal decision that you need to make when you're getting started with your online business, whether you're an online course creator or a coach, and that's whether or not you should stay a sole proprietorship or form an LLC. You ready? Let's do this. Hi, my name is Jim Hart. I'm the founding attorney here at Hawthorn Law, where we help you, the online course creator or coach, get your legal house in order so that you can focus on what you do best, and that is building a business that's truly going to matter in the world. I'm also the creator of the Lock It Down Legal Protection System, where we take worried entrepreneurs and turn them into legally legit CEOs. And today I want to talk with you about one of the first main decisions that people make when they're starting their business, and that's whether or not they should stay as a sole proprietorship or form an LLC for their business. I say LLC, but what I really mean is LLC, corporation, whatever else. But LLC is the main legal entity that most people are choosing these days. And for people that are just getting started in their online business, this is an incredibly confusing topic, and it is something that a lot of people get really hung up on and really can't move past. I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday who is getting ready to start a fitness brand, and he just can't get past the thought of what he needs to do legally. And this is the first thing that people need to think about when they're getting their business started. And honestly, there's a good reason for it, because if you mess this thing up, it can literally cost you thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars later on down the road in the form of additional taxes that you might owe if you make the wrong decision, or even potentially if you found yourself on the wrong end of a lawsuit. All right, so let's talk about a sole proprietorship. Now, first thing you need to know is that you don't actually form a sole proprietorship. If you're doing business and you haven't done anything else and you're just by yourself, you are a sole proprietorship. If you're doing business with somebody else and you haven't done anything else, then you're what's called a partnership. A partnership is when they've got two or more people working together, and it's basically the default entity for two or more people working together. A sole proprietorship is the default entity if it is just you. So with a sole proprietorship, you don't have to worry about filing anything with the state, which means it's actually a very inexpensive entity to form, because you're not really forming anything, you just are a sole proprietorship when you get started. The only exception being that you may need to file a DBA, or which is a doing business as, or a reserved name, or a fictitious name, or something like that, whatever it's called in your state. If you're doing business under a name different than what your name is, then you may need to file that DBA, but those are typically, $15, $20, $25 tops. You basically get your EIN number from the IRS and you set up a business bank account, and you're rocking and rolling. You're ready to roll, man. You've got everything you need to have your business going. And so a couple things that you do need to know about a sole proprietorship here. Some of the downsides of a sole proprietorship is, number one, it doesn't provide any legal liability protection at all to you. If you get sued with the sole proprietorship, all of your personal assets are in jeopardy. You could lose them. In addition, if you are actually in business with somebody else and one of you gets sued, or one of you does something where the business would get sued, then you could be responsible for everything that your partner did, even if you did nothing wrong. But for a lot of people that are just getting started, it is very attractive because of the perks that come, and the inexpensive cost, and the lack of setup formalities when you're setting up a sole proprietorship. Let's contrast that to the LLC. An LLC, the fees are going to vary by state. You have to file what are called articles of organization, or if you're setting up a corporation, it's going to be articles of incorporation. You have to file those with your Secretary of State's office in the state where you live. A lot of people get confused. They think they can file someplace else. No, you just file in the state where you live. That's going to be the easiest way. I've got other videos that talk about that. Obviously, with an LLC or a corporation, it does require a level of state registration. The fees are going to vary by state. One of the most notorious states for this is California. Their filing fee is actually quite low. It's $75 as of the recording of this video. But then they also have what's called an annual franchise tax that is due with your annual report, and that is $800 if I'm not mistaken as of the filing of this video. Of course, if you're watching this years from now, those fees are probably going to go up. A lot of people ask, well, if I'm in California, can't I just file in another state? Well, there's problems with doing that. If California finds out, which they will, then you might have to pay a penalty as well. So it is behoove you, if you live in California, to just file in California. If you live in another state, just file in the state where you live. It's going to be the easiest thing to do. So when you file those articles of organization, in addition to having a corporate registered agent or your own self as a registered agent, you also need to set up a business address. I've talked about in other videos that it is best to use a virtual office space, or if you're renting your own office space, as I am right now, then you can use your office address, obviously, as your business address. There is a distinction, though, between the office address or your business address and the registered agent address. They are not the same. If you hire somebody to be your registered agent, do not go using their address as your business address. It will make them very unhappy with you, I'm pretty sure. And so that is something you just need to think about. You want to have a separate business address, and that's separate and apart from your registered agent if you're using a corporate registered agent. Now, if you're using yourself as your registered agent, then those addresses could be the same. But again, there's going to be some rules that you need to follow with regard to that. And so I kind of need to leave a little asterisk next to that one to make sure you check with an attorney to make sure you're doing that right. Even though you're setting up your LLC, you may still need to file a DBA or fictitious name or reserve name. I talked about that with regards to a sole proprietorship. It's still something that you may need to use when you're setting up your LLC. And then of course, you're going to need to have a separate EIN number for the LLC, as well as a separate business bank account to hold the funds for the LLC and make sure it is properly funded. It remains to be said, who should form an LLC? If you have assets to protect, in other words, you've got assets that you don't want somebody suing your LLC and getting at, then you should have an LLC. If you are in a high-risk business, nebulous term, a high-risk business, it's going to mean something different to everybody else, but it's kind of one of those things where you know it when you see it. I would say people that are teaching about, let's say the stock market, how to trade in the stock market, or they're teaching about health and fitness and wellness, and somebody could get injured using one of your workouts, or people that are giving professional guidance or advice, such as obviously lawyers, accountants, financial advisors, people like that, then it's probably best to make sure that you have some sort of business entity as a shell around your business and to protect your business from your personal assets. And then number 3, if you are generating sufficient revenue within your business to offset the cost of setting up that LLC, then that would be another consideration you want to think about. I think another reason in favor of setting up the LLC is if whatever you're doing that would be within the LLC, if that's your full-time business, then it probably makes sense to set up that LLC. It makes you more legitimate, and which dovetails nicely into the last factor that I really consider, and that's whether or not someday you might be selling your business. Obviously, if you have your own separate LLC that controls everything related to the business, then you're going to look more viable as a potential seller than if you're just a sole proprietorship. And I think that's a matter of personal preference, but that's the way I feel about it anyway. That's not to say that an LLC is for everybody. There's a lot of people that should not form an LLC, and so if you are in a situation where you don't have that many assets to protect, or maybe no assets to protect at all, then maybe an LLC is not right for you. If you're just getting started and you're testing some business ideas and you're not generating any revenue, or you're not in a high-risk business, then maybe you don't need to form an LLC either. If you can purchase sufficient business insurance to protect any possible lawsuit against your business, then it's very possible that an LLC may not be the right option for you. And then finally, if this is a lifestyle business to you, if you're starting a blog on the side and you don't have any immediate plans to monetize that blog, you're not generating any revenue, whatever you're doing as part of your business is just merely for fun on the side, a side hustle, maybe you're bringing in a couple $100 a month, but nothing substantial, and it's certainly not your full-time job, then maybe an LLC is not right for you either. Those are kind of the ins and outs of LLCs versus sole proprietorships. The next steps for you to think about are whether or not you actually do need an LLC for your online business or your course or coaching practice. And if you do you need to set up an S-Corp for that business. For those purposes, I put another video right here that will help you learn all you need to know about S-Corps, what they are, and how they might benefit you and save you a ton of money in tax revenue. That's it for today. Have a great one, folks. We'll see you in the next video right over here.